Okay, next up, go ahead, Roger.
So, it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce Philippe Lyon. He's Senior Director, Analytics and Data Visualization at Oracle. And the very first time I met Philippe, I managed to cram myself, my tiny svelte self, into the back of a room that was absolutely cram filled with people, and then had a deluge of information. It was such interesting stuff, and I've learned that actually that's who Philippe is. He gives you this information. So I've dubbed him Fire Hose Philippe. You get a full dose of what's coming up, and he's so passionate about his product. It's actually, you feel like you're coming on the ride with him. So there's also, we talk about all these, as I said to you on the previous introduction, we try and find things that nobody knows about these people, and that are sometimes nothing to do with their technology. And so I don't know how he finds the time to do it, but Philippe is an olive oil farmer in his spare time. So I bet you not many of you knew that. Certainly I hadn't realized it until last week. So with that, Philippe, if I can introduce you and say thank you very much for presenting to us again today. I look forward to hearing what you've got to say, sir.
Hey, Roger. Hey, this is always such introductions you're making. You're setting this stage, the bar so high now. Thank you very much for this. I think you're exaggerating quite a lot, though. I'm passionate about this product, and I'm very excited that you guys have invited me to speak about it because I think it's great. So I'll do my best to try to, be up to to the stage that you've set. And yes, I do grow olive trees, and yeah, that's my foot in the ground or in the nature, let's say. And this is maybe you see the background behind me. This is south of France, and that's land where we have a lot of olive trees. So it's just this perpetuating tradition. Thanks for that. And thank again to all of you for organizing this and for having us, Oracle PMs, presenting the product here. We are really excited about this. Should I go ahead?
Yes, please, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So let me get back to my deck really quickly. All right. So maybe I can share. Now I need to go and find the share button. I apologize for this. Give me a second. Okay, sharing. I'm going to stop your sharing.
Yep.
And you should see my screen coming up. Can you confirm you see my screen coming up?
Yes, sir. Perfect.
All right, perfect. And you can hear me fine, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so my name is Philippe, and I'm working in the product management group of Oracle Analytics. I've been there for quite a long time, and that's just saying how much I'm interested with this product and this industry. And I'm going to use the next 50 minutes here to talk to you about mostly talk to you about the product actually, and drill into some of the capabilities that have recently made it in the product, just to make sure that you have a good understanding of what they enable your organization with, as well as talk about what's coming in the near future and maybe in the medium term in the product. And I'm a product person, and as Roger mentioned, I'm excited with the product. So I'm going to go very quickly through the marketing slides, assuming many of you have interest with Oracle Analytics, and that's why you're here. I will spend the most of my session here talking about the product and trying to share with you some of what I think is really exciting about the new capabilities. If you have questions, feel free to send them over Q&A. We will stop and pause at various moments to try to address them. With that, let me carry on. So, there's one thing I want to share with you. This statement here, our mission is to help people see data in new ways, discover insights, and unlock endless possibilities. This is a statement that Larry Ellison has stated for all of us as our mission statement, not analytics people or Oracle employees. But I happen to be an analytics PM, and you can imagine how excited I am when I see this is the direction that the company is taking. Because obviously, this is spot on what Oracle Analytics is about. So I couldn't help but sharing this with you. This is where we're going. It should reassure you that whatever we're doing with analytics is pretty central to the mission of Oracle. It's not the only one, of course, but that's clearly a mission statement from Larry. So we're pretty interested with this. structure-wise, and I'm not going to spend time on the marketing aspect of this, but as you probably familiar with, hopefully you don't see the camera here. Let me try to hide this. So the analytics here is one piece in the mosaic of offering from Oracle. The cloud, the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure OCI platform has lots of offerings to enterprise to cover enterprise needs, of which analytics is a key part. But the reason why I'm showing you this slide here, which you're probably somewhat familiar with, or you know at least that there is a lot that is being offered by Oracle. The reason why I'm showing it to you is that the value, one of the values that we deliver with analytics is the fact that we connect and interact with different pieces within Oracle in a very native way. And that brings a ton of business value to organizations consuming analytics. I'll say no more about this. We'll go in the product. But the fact that we're not just a simple analytics solution, but that we connect to very powerful engines behind the scenes, and we do this in a way that nobody else does, you know, obviously because we're drinking our own champagne here. And so that allows a lot of flexibility, a lot of agility for organizations. You are familiar probably with the fact that Oracle Analytics is a different set of products, one of which is the tool, the platform, which is at the top of the slide here, and the other, which are the applications that we deliver as part of this. So today I'm going to obviously talk about the technology, the analytics cloud solution, as well as the analytics server solution. The difference being one is offered in the cloud, the other one is offered on-prem, but they're largely the same piece of code and the same features. And I'm almost through with the marketing side. One thing that I really like about our product in general is that it covers different analytics needs and trends, or needs in the organization and trends over the past decade. From enterprise analytics, where we have one source of truth that we call governed analytics. If you go to analysts' reports, you will see that this is exactly what has happened in the past 15 years with semantic models and single source of truth and enterprise reportings and you know, all the security aspect and the dashboarding aspect. To the self-service analytics, which is you and I just coming up with our data and building our own analytics right away, right there, which is bottom today. To even better than this, which is proactive analytics, providing with solutions for users so that they don't have to even learn about the product or learn about techniques for analysis. And this is offered to users in the organization, irrespective of the fact that they are data scientists, IT engineers, data engineers, business users. And that's what's really cool about Oracle Analytics, in my opinion. And eventually, and that's my last one, the entire flow, you know, doing analytics is not just building a report. It's a long story. And the story starts with connecting to data, preparing it, modeling it, exploring it, sharing it, and consuming it. Like, you know, it's not just about building a beautiful charts, getting all the pieces to get there, refining the data to get there, maybe being helped doing this with some machine learning or AI. And then once I have the insight, then sharing it, making it actionable and shareable. So that is some stuff that I'm assuming you have a sense about analytics. And I want to use the next 40 minutes talking about the product rather than this, but I will welcome any questions about this. I want to save you from a long list of everything that analytics can do, because it's a really long list and it goes across different areas. And I don't think that's what you're here for. You came here to see some roadmap and some stuff that is hot in the product right now. Anyway, if you have questions about this slide, feel free to ask them, and I'll do my best to answer them. If not today, at least offline. Okay. With this, all right. Here's what I want to talk about. But obviously, I don't expect you to read any of that. I just want to give you a sense of the cadence of development that is going on with Oracle Analytics. This is a lot of capabilities that have made it in the product in the past 12 months. A lot of features, a lot of enhancements, a lot of new capabilities. And this slide is here to give you a sense that there is a very strategic investment in the product, that it's growing very fast, that its capability are expanding very fast. And part of the reason why this list is long is also because some of that stuff is pure development. Some of that stuff is simply making the most of what exists within Oracle. Like, for instance, database analytics. This is not us reinventing the wheel about graph analytics or time series. This is us just leveraging engines that exist within Oracle. So some of this is simply making the most of very powerful techniques that exist within Oracle. Some of it is obviously about making the experience of the product very fun. So obviously, I'm not going to read through this, but I have, if I just pick a few randomly here, in calendar year 21, if you have been using Oracle Analytics, you may have noticed several changes, such as the arrival of multi-table datasets, conditional formatting, Redwood style, a hierarchical support, a bunch of new connectors, capability of scheduling reloads of datasets, flexible sorting. So these are not major ones, but these are some that just I pick randomly. Another one is performance measurement. Another one is database analytics. Another one is graph analytics. Like I said, this long list is not about just tiny features. It's also about real functional capabilities that make a difference to me as an end user when I use the product. Some of it are about infrastructure and number of data centers and security and integration. Some of them are really about what's functionally valuable for me as an end user. So what's next? So what's next means what just happened and then what's next. Something just happened in January and we had an update. So your OAC environment, if you own an OAC environment, you didn't have to do anything, just received an email and it got upgraded and you got a bunch of new features, and we'll review this in a minute. That's over, that's real. The next one is going to be next month, March. So expect that your environment will upgrade and get a bunch of new things again in March, latest early April. Or the deployment phase itself takes several weeks anyway to upgrade the fleet. So that may go and span through April. And guess when it's next? Yes, May and June. So the cadence is such that you should expect new stuff coming in the product pretty regularly. And that's why I showed you that long list earlier on, which is how it consolidates when you look back over a year. So obviously this is about cloud, Oracle Analytics Cloud updates. The Oracle Analytics Server only updates once a year. And guess what? This is also coming up next month, or actually April, I guess. But that one, obviously, since it's an on-prem deployment, the install binaries here are going to, they are refreshed only once a year. So you will get all of these features that I was showing a minute ago in that massive slide for Oracle Analytics Server, actually most of them, in the next drop of Oracle Analytics Server. And just so you know, the next drop of Oracle Analytics Server is going to pick up the January update of the cloud. So whatever you have on your cloud environment today is the scope of what you will have in the next Oracle Analytics Server product. There are a few gaps, very small gaps, because some capabilities are inherent to cloud infrastructure and cannot be deployed in on-prem solutions. So what happened in January? Let me just take a peek back at what just happened. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, it's been cooking on our side for a while, but it got delivered in January. And so a few visualization and experience enhancements, such as the Redwood style, which is now becoming the default one, or a few more things, and we'll see this in a minute on a more detailed slide. There has been also a capability of editing and preparing data. So these are small increments. Every time you got small increments, and eventually it turns into a big picture that has a lot of capabilities. Capabilities to support also additional machine learning models from OML. So OML is Oracle Machine Learning. This is machine learning that exists as part of the database code. OAC integrates with OML in the sense that if your data scientist has designed a model in OML, then OAC can easily consume it. And I don't need to be a scientist myself to just make the most of the work that Roger may have developed in the database, but I am an OAC business analyst, and I can very easily take the benefit of the database performance, its scalability, and consume Roger's model, for instance, if we say that he had developed that model. Now, what just happened in January is that some of the model types that exist in the database are now more new model types are now supported in that OAC integration. And one that I'm pretty excited with also just happened in January, and I'm going to show you a demo of this, which is Auto Insights. I say no more about this. If you haven't heard of it, you'll see it in a minute. Before I go on, there is all about the January one. There's obviously a doc. I don't know if you can even read the URL here. I will put it in the slide in the chat in a moment. But there is also, hopefully you can see it. Let me move this. There is a playlist that shows you a little bit more detail about these features that happened in January. And if you say bit.ly OAC Gen 22 features, you will see that playlist. Visualization enhancements, very simple. Something that is now available in OAC is conditional formatting for performance tiles. So we had conditional formatting applying to most of the Vs, but not yet to performance tiles. So now you can change the background, the font, the color, all sorts of parameters in your tile based on the value of the tile, based on the value of the metric versus another metric, all sorts of sophisticated conditional formatting rules that happen here. The slice, the radius, the thickness of pie charts, or at least donut charts, is now adjustable, which is adding some look and feel to your dense dashboards if you are interested. There is also a way, that's very simple, but it was an important requirement to show a presentation mode. So when I want to present my dashboard, not just design it, but when I want to present it, I have an option to show different pages and mark these pages as a film strip or as a navigation bar or as simply the name of the tab, the name of the canvas tab. So that's now possible. These are specific requirements that we get from our, feature list from customers, which are getting implemented. Here's a cool one. When I upload a data set in OAC, and let's say I'm in a self-service world, so I'm an analyst, a business analyst, and I upload my data set, there are many cases where I'm saying, first of all, the system, OAC, introspects the data and assigns an object type to a column. It says, well, I'm guessing this is a metric, and I'm guessing this is an attribute, and I'm guessing that your metric is going to be a sum aggregation. That's what you see here highlighted. Most of the time I have to override this because I am the only one who know that this is average instead of sum or whatever. In that January update, we can now override these aggregation rules or these column types all at once. So I just multi-select my columns and I just set an aggregation rule for the columns that I have selected only once, and I don't have to do it row by row. And that selection doesn't have to be a contiguous selection. It could be any other columns. That's, if you're designing self-service analytics, you'll appreciate, I'm sure, that feature. And eventually, there's a little bit of a courtesy on calculated columns. So when I build my calculations, I now have the ability to see properties of this calculation, even though I cannot change this property. Why? Because when I want to change this property, I got to just edit the formula of my calculation and assign a different type of this column or a different aggregation rule or so on. So that's why the property cannot be edited here, but at least you can see how it's going to behave. Auto Insights is another feature that is made it in 6.4. So Auto Insights is a way to help the user start from a blank data set, not a blank set, a blank canvas and a data set, and immediately jump into interesting insights on the data set without saying or pointing to anything. Just bring your data and OAC will give you some initial thoughts about it, but not just descriptive thought, but kind of digging into it to see if we can find something that is nice to look at and that is functionally meaningful to you. Obviously, it's a complete shoot in the dark. It's AI, but it's trying to figure out some insights out of your data set. So As you create a data set, you will see in the demo, a bubble shows up. And when this bubble turns yellow, the system offers you a bunch of visualizations on your data, not knowing anything about it. And all you have to do is to click on that plus sign to make that visualization be part of your canvas. That's simple. So basically, that allows me as a user to just come with my data in a hurry, load it, wait 2 minutes, and get a choice of meaningful insights that I can pick from. So let me demo this to you if you haven't seen it yet. So let me go back to my OAC environment, and hopefully, so I got different tab colors here to show you different versions, right? So why don't I start with why don't I start with this one? So this is a data set that I have uploaded ahead of the call. And it's taken 2 minutes before this pane came up here. So in fact, in that bulb would have shown white for like 90 seconds, and it would have turned yellow. And when it turns yellow, the system's telling me that, you know, you didn't have to tell us anything. This data is brand new and we know nothing about it, but we found some visualization that we consider as potentially interesting insights about your data. And each of these visualization is a result of a ranking and an AI process that qualifies it for potentially interesting for you. Here is one that says this visualization compares how total profit value has trended over time for members of order priority. And we've detected that, you know, one of them or few of them has a contrast in the way that it grows or is declining. And indeed, that yellow line is actually going up while everyone else is not. That could be something interesting for me. And it figured out to, you know, look at the year data and it aggregated it in this way. Well, I may be interested with this one. I'm going to click plus, and that's just going to add it in my dashboard in the background. Here's a seasonality one that shows me how profit by record, it's not profit, it's profit by record, is doing over months. Clearly, my business is something where we have a real seasonality in November. And I can see that the second one here is a profit value, which is the same. So something really skewed in my business here that could be of interest. And by the way, we didn't select this because it was called profit. This could have been a French data set, a Japanese data set, an Indian data set with whatever naming. The selection here is coming up from something that is dense enough to be visualized at the level of months and that shows some contrast. Here's a bridge report. Here are more trend lines. And if I keep scrolling down, here's a forecast. Here's a cluster visualization. And here's a bar chart. So I'm now randomly clicking across different visualizations and making them. Here's a top CT by profit. And I have quite a few of them that I can scroll down. And this just got guessed by OAC to represent potentially interest for me. So you may have seen I clicked on a few here. Let's say I'm happy with what I have. I'm just going to collapse this. And now I've selected 6 different visas. And they're there, just as if I had built them. But it took me 30 seconds to get there. And here is a visualization that shows me Sao Paulo, Riyadh, Vancouver, and all of these. And here is a line that says all other cities average. So I compare what's the average of everyone else's compared to the top 10. Now that is a calculation that was just designed by the O2 Insight process. And that calculation got copied because I selected that viz. And that calculation is something that I guarantee I would not have made up myself. Because 1, I didn't have time. 2, I didn't know the data. And 3, I didn't know how to do it in OAC anyway. But now I got it. And maybe I want to change profit by something else, or I want to edit it, but now I have it. And here's a cluster. And here is this chart. So now, what if I wanted, these is subcategories. What if I wanted to look at all this chart, all this dashboard only for November? As I click on November, obviously this behaves just like, did I click on it or not? Yeah, I think I did. So as you can see, the whole dashboard behaves just like if I had built it myself. So I have all of the interactiveness, to keep only the browse, the filtering. This is my dashboard. I just made it by myself, and I can go and share it with you. Obviously, if I go and change my data set, the process will refresh, and we will get new insights. But that's how cool that feature is about. So that's Auto Insight, and hopefully you get a sense of the jump that we did for me, business user, not knowing anything about the data that I'm loading, not knowing anything about the product itself, and besides, not even having time to do it. Well, just come with your data. We'll give you a list of possible insights. And you know what? Maybe this is not right, but for us, what we could do is, for me as a business user, I could say, well, you're wrong. Profit is not what I'm interested in. I would like, or at least let me make it up, like I would like discount instead of profit. Now I have the viz, I can just use it as a template, and I can see the seasonality of discount. I'm shortcutting a little bit because we could change the calculations as well, but now this is a template that I can reuse myself and change the dimensions or the metrics so I see different results, but I don't have to spend time doing this beautification. So this is Auto Insights, and that came up in 6.4. And that's it for 6.4. Yeah. Yes.
There is one question, actually a couple of questions, but
sure.
The first one is directly related to this, and it says, how are Auto Insights different than the Explain feature? And yeah, obviously I've got an idea, but it would be great if you could answer that.
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. So Explain is a machine learning set of algorithms that are running when a user clicks on a column. I come with a data set about sales, and I need more details about sales specifically. I need segmentation about sales. I need outliers about sales. I need distribution, or let's say descriptive analytics about sales. Explain will run a few algorithms to find remarkable things about sales itself. And it will deliver a few, let's say, basic descriptive analysis using these algorithms. When you know that you want to drill in sales. Auto Insight is different. Auto Insight is, let's say for dummies like me, let's say, I come with a data set that I don't know of. I don't know if it's good, bad, average. I don't know what's interesting. I don't, basically this is mimicking what we are doing when we start working with a new data set. We're spending an hour trying to find which dimension is populated, which metric is dense, what's the time span that I have, what column can I use to even make sense of it, and then start visualizing it, and then start finding out where we have contrasts that make sense. So that process that I just mentioned is compressed and automated into Auto Insights. This is different from Explain because it's shooting, it doesn't require any input from the user, and it's providing a template of business analysis, whereas Explain is providing some descriptive on a column.
So it's a real case of Lukmar, no hands. Yeah, for people like me. I think there is one other question which I'll ask at the same time. It is, does Auto Insights only work on data sets, or does it also work on RPD-based data directly?
I think I have exactly that's next in the next slide.
Okay.
It does. Yeah, I'll cover it in the next slide.
Thank you.
Should I move on? Hey, thanks, Roger.
Yes, sorry. Yes, please continue.
But thanks for bringing up this question.
It was sensible to ask it at the same time as you were talking about it.
Yeah, totally. So really quickly, this process runs every time that the data set is created, but you can deactivate a data set from Auto Insights, very easy. And that's it. It runs and then Insights persists. So now if Roger was going to open the data set that I was just showing, nothing else would happen besides him seeing the same visas in that pane. And obviously it's applying to permissions, right? So it recomputes only if the structure is changed or if the user turns it off and turns it on again, and it recomputes. And obviously it does do some computing when it happens, right? And as I'm creating new columns in the data set, there is some ML aspect here that will rank and use that information that this has been used and modified by the user. It does not yet work on subject areas. It will work on local subject areas during this calendar year, but right now, not yet. So that answers the question. It does not work on multi-DIM data sources, and it works on database data. It actually works on other sources than the Oracle, but it's certified for Oracle data sources for now. This is the V1 of Auto Insights. And there is a size limit, and that size limit will be removed in the next drop. Size limit is about, it's 75 million cells, but in the next drop of Oracle Analytics, we're going to support sampling, which will remove that limit. So that's a pretty big data set already. And finally, when you use multi-table data sets, that diagram, you need to make sure that you hit preserve grain on the model, otherwise it won't work. And the reason is you have to specify what we would mean as a fact table. So remember that. If you don't do this, you'll have a message saying, hey, I can't find insights because you need to tell me which one is your fact table. And the fact table is a preserved grain flag, at least for Auto Insight. You can turn off data set Auto Insight for any data set, or you can turn it on, or you can also turn it off in your system, and that's how it comes by default. So in the January update, you need to go and explicitly activate it. That's easy. It's in the console. In fact, if you watch the playlist that I mentioned earlier, or if you look for Auto Insight on YouTube, you'll find that. It's a simple settings in OAC console to turn it on once and for all. That's it about Auto Insights. I'll carry on now. Okay, this was for the January update. And I'll just drop by saying, if you have, if your own OAC, go and try it out. Go and try out the Auto Insight, of course, and go and try out or activate it for sure and try it out. Try out the different features I mentioned, because some of them are small, but they make the life a lot more comfortable for designers. What's next? Remember, there was an update in March and an update in April. May, June. March, April, and May, June. Few things coming around. First of all, let me start from the bottom. OAS, right? So as I said, so 6.4 is January. January update, OAS server on-prem. Feature set from January OAC will make it into OAS, and you expect a GA date around April 2021. That's a big deal, because stuff like Auto Insight will be part of it, but not only, a lot of these features that you have seen from last year. Okay, lots of new features in the next 4 months, right? So I'm not sure exactly which drop this will make it in, but let me show you one here, start randomly, if I can show a few demo. All right, so let me go there. See, this is hopefully my login didn't die. This is a scatter plot, and this is a classic feature that we have in the scatter plot, which says show me clusters in the scatter plot. That's a right-click analytics. Now the challenge with this is that this is beautiful, and I can change the parameters, make it 6, less, more, change the algorithm. But once I have done this, it's great to look at, but I would like, so this is sales by profit. Now, this group is of interest to me because it's medium sales, but high, or medium profit, but high sales. I need to know if how other metrics behave against this cluster. Okay, so add this cluster to my calculation. And what just happened is this came up right now. It wasn't there. I should have scrolled. It wasn't there a minute ago. And that is defining this cluster. Now I could say, show me this cluster by this count. So I'm going to create a best visualization on this. And likely I'm going to get a scatter bar chart. Now I can see cluster 1, 2, 3, 4. So what if I click on number 3? That's this cluster. And number 6 has a pretty high discount. This is the guy we were talking about. And how about cluster 5 here? So now I can cross-analyze, if I can select it. So cluster 5 is here. I can cross-analyze business-wise results of my right-click analytics and my let's say, advanced analytics in a functional way. Now it makes sense to me. Now, if I let's say did this, duplicate this, remove the cluster, and remove that cluster. So here, let's say we want to do something else, such as outliers, right? So there is a group of these dots that will be tagged as outliers. These are the orange ones. Now, just as well, I can ask the system to add a calculation with outliers. And I can simply maybe, why don't we do this? Why don't we bring outliers as a color in our cluster? So now we are piling up, let me make this be a stacked bar chart. We are piling up a cross analysis of two different advanced analysis. So it'll take a second for it to compute. So now if I look at this group here, this is the number of outliers from the green cluster, but that are outliers. And this is the population of the green cluster that are not outliers. Now I can see that my outliers are mostly the part of the cluster number 6. So now right there, I already have some pretty significant functional analysis that I just did by right clicks. And I don't care about exactly how complex is that syntax. I don't have to know this. I'm happy to read it and understand it and change it and edit it and use it as a template, but I didn't have to experience any of this. This is some of the enhancements that are coming. Fine-grained control on consumer options. So this is, and I'm watching the clock here so that we have time to see some of the, actually, why don't I select one? Okay, let me talk you through this for time's sake. When I build a presentation and I need you to be able to consume it, so a presentation being a dashboard, say a workbook, an Oracle Analytics workbook, I need to give you as a consumer the ability to perhaps drill or filter or keep only or do some interactions on your charts. That granularity is now available for me as a designer to grant to you or not when you consume it in that grain. So not just saying user can do everything or nothing. No, user can do drill, keep only, filter, so it's granular. There is also now a capability of creating dashboard filter bars in a canvas. So this has been a series of different enhancements across releases that have led us to basically let you replicate the dashboard filter bar, but as a canvas object, allowing to control the size, allowing to control the layout, allowing to control the default value, allowing to control various aspects of the filter for the user within the canvas. This is coming in, I believe, the March update. And this is going to fill a bit of the gap between Classic and DV. There are enhancements in the preparation, the data quality insights, allowing the user to click on one of these distribution charts and represent only some of the issue values, problematic values, and filter just for this. There is one capability also that is coming that is pretty technical, which is that number D here. So let me just quickly go on that. That's not, okay, that's the one I wanted to talk to you about. The ability for you to run a custom script with OAC. Today, if your organization has some custom models, calculations, or scripts that need to happen to run on your data, or that you need your user to apply to their data, the cloud aspect of Oracle Analytics creates a security issue. And we cannot run any custom scripts within OAC. Now, this is now possible. It'll be possible in March, where if you host your custom script into the function as a service, OCI service, so that's basically an environment, that's an Oracle, that's part of the big picture I was showing earlier about Oracle, then Oracle will provide a way to let you consume this safely. Let me show you a quick demo and I'll fast forward with this. So is this playing? Okay, yeah. So we basically register an OCI function. So assuming the function exists in OCI, an administrator just navigates in OAC, connects to OCI, as you saw me doing, and selects the script that is the one we want to expose to users. In this case, it's a word counter script. And he checks it out. Just like if you're familiar, this is very similar to the OML integration capability. And once he's happy with it, just registers it. Once that script is registered, it's just like, if you're familiar, it's just like custom scripts in OAS. Now it is in my list of scripts. So I'm an administrator. I like to go and check out how things are set up. And I can give it access to any other user. Now, if I switch to becoming a business user, I don't really care what this thing is happening. I have my data, I bring in my data, and I do my data flow. And when I go in my data flow, I have a custom apply custom script node, which shows me what I have access to. And word count demo is one. And whether it happens in some custom Python script somewhere on OCI, I don't care. This is just doing my functional need, and it's blessed by my admin. I can go in and use it. And as I do this, obviously, this will spit out some dataset results. And so I'll fast forward a little bit. Once I have the dataset results, I can then represent all sorts of analytics with the results of my custom scripts. For me as a business user, I didn't even know it was a custom script, besides just clicking on that node. I don't care where it happened. I was there in very easily because of that integration. That capability, let me go back to my deck, if I find it. Right there, yes, I was in the deck. So this custom script integration is also coming in March, actually pretty soon. And that's what this is. There are different other features here coming in March or April, but I also want to take a peek at what's after, right? So, but I'm just highlighting this one here, public REST API for snapshot creation and restore. That's also something very much demanded, so it's there very soon. Moving on, and I want to be conscious of time, so I'll go very fast on this. Lots of new features after April, and don't quote me on this because this can still change, but a lot of stuff coming for experience in dashboarding. And you can see here variables for workbooks. That's the same as presentation variables in Classic. This geospatial data type, integration of OCI data science in the product, just like we're integrating with OML. We're working currently on integrating with OCI data science. Vision model. So Vision recognizes stuff in images, and that's already available in Oracle OCI, and we're going to make this be part of OAC in the same way that I was showing you in the data flow. And then moving on the admin side and data set, capability of new data set connecting to a REST-based connector or an object store connectivity, or leveraging or defining hierarchies in empty data sets, or using multi-table data set, but not with tables, just with files. Not with table, just build your model with your own files. That's pretty cool. It's actually really cool. As you mentioned earlier on, Dan and Roger, there's a web-based semantic modeler. That's a big deal for us. And it involves some markup language to define our metadata. And then there is a lot of admin capabilities also behind the scenes. I'm watching the clock and I want to give a chance to the questions as well. So that's as much as I had right now. If I'm checking, yeah, that's as much as I had. I have a few other demos, but I'd rather prioritize your questions first. Roger, would you mind giving me a few of the top questions? Actually, maybe there's only one, right?
I see one, Philippe. If Roger's on mute, can default values in the dashboard filter bar be set using repository variables, for instance, dates? Also, can you leverage functions on those default values like timestamp add?
Okay, yes, great question. Answer is not yet. So why don't I demo to you the new dashboard filter that I mentioned? I went quickly, and you will see the answer is not yet. So let's say we built this a minute ago, all of us, right? And let's say we want to, instead of using the stop filter here, we want to have a in dashboard filter because that page is going to eventually be embedded in some application. So let's say we want to filter this by order priority and then customer segment and product category. And I'm going to pick a visualization. And now I have this list. So up until now, you have this list box, which acts as a filter. But now a new object is maybe the tooltip didn't come up. It's a dashboard prompt. So I clicked on it and hopefully it's painting. So you see here that bar is painting. And now here for this bar, which I obviously could drag it around. If I click on it, I have several. Okay. So these are the priorities. Sorry, my network here is a bit slow. I can influence the format itself. If you see some of this is close to what you used to have in Classic, the orientation, make it horizontal, vertical, the wrapping, the width. Do I want button that reset or apply? That's formatting. And then for each of the values there, obviously labeling and what filter that is, right? So is it a top 10 or is it a list? My network is playing tricks. Is multi-select on, and what's the default value? For now, that default value, sorry, I have collapsed by a mistake this field. And my network is dying on me. Anyway, can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I also had problems just now, so it may be something to do with load on the Zoom call, for instance. But
could be.
You're perfectly audible now.
Okay, thank you. And so the answer to answer the question, if I was able to select that, you would see that I can default a value. For now, it's a hard-coded value. But hang on, this will, the moment that we have variables, obviously the idea is that they work hand in hand. And the variables become, okay, wow, that's really slow. Selection required or not, limit values by other prompts. And default value for now is first in list or custom or none. And that list of choice will increase. And that should help with the answer to this question. In the meantime, if your question, in the meantime, a workaround to your question is on building expression filters, including a SQL. So by building expression filters, you can fairly easily, there's a video on this in YouTube, you can fairly easily define a filter that uses the results of another viz as its input. It's not, when I say fairly easily, it's not so easy. It needs to require a logical SQL in your expression filter, but that's doable. If you need more details about this, I'm happy to have an exchange with you on it. But yeah, we don't yet support exactly what you're asking the question. So I think we have another 3 minutes. Is that right, Dan?
Yes, you do. You do have another few minutes. 3 minutes is fine. We do have a few more questions as well.
Sure. Go ahead. Let's go with the questions then.
Okay, so some actually came through in the chat, so I'm just quickly scanning for them. I did ask them to put it into the main Q&A, but in the meantime, can you set a presentation variable? This is from Adrian Virgino. A presentation variable in RBD via prompt in DV, as we can do in answers.
Not yet. When we have that variable capability, which is this calendar, that DV variable capability, which is expected this calendar year, yes. Well, your question is very precise. This year we'll have the ability to use variables in the canvas. In Classic, not only can you do this, but you can also call APIs to set the value of a variables from within a prompt and reposit session variables, not just presentation variables. What DV variables will be, I am not sure if there will be session variables, that is repository, or presentation variables. I cannot tell you that yet. I don't know. So long answer for saying I don't know yet. Sorry.
That's fine. Well, you French always like to explain yourselves properly, eh? And I get to be rude about it. Although, you know, your accent is meant to be one of the sexiest on the planet, apparently.
Oh my God.
Then
Don't take
have
this
another,
offline.
I have another question here, which was also in the chat rather than the Q&A, and it's from Riho Sherian. It says, any planned release of applying row-level data security with groups in datasets and DV email schedules?
Yes. Plans to apply this in datasets via multi-table datasets. Multi-table dataset is the new format that we have for a dataset, where you can basically build your mini model. There is clearly a plan to apply data level security, so row level security at that model level. So there is basically the conversions is that you are going to have more and more capabilities in your self-service mini model, that MT dataset, MT for table dataset, multi-table, so that it blends seamlessly with the semantic model, as it basically can get promoted to become a piece of a semantic model in the future. So the answer is yes for modeling. But the other part of the answer, I don't think the answer is yes. I don't remember. Can you rephrase the second one, or repeat the second one?
So it just says, any planned release of applying row-level data security with groups in datasets and DV email schedules?
No, okay, not that I know of.
Okay, very good. Well, I think I've captured all of the Q&A, and I guess we are at time.
Yeah.
So, Philippe, thank you, my friend. A real pleasure. I look forward to seeing you in the flesh sometime soon, hopefully.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I am the one to thank you guys, everyone, for their patience in listening to my accent in the call, and also for you, the team here, to organize this so flawlessly and inviting me. Thank you very much, guys. Very much appreciated.
Much appreciated, sir. Cheers.
Cheers.